There's our girl. We have a daughter? What? No, our target. Oh, right, the lady we're supposed to apprehend, eh? Bingo, bango, bongo. Our target has quite the history, you see. Thousands of illegal substances smuggled, hundreds of underground connections, and war crimes. So many war crimes. She's American? We're gonna have to lay low for this one and strike when the time is right. Our priority is to capture her quickly and safely so we can question her for vital information. Do you understand what I mean, Agent Beefslinger? I know exactly what you mean, Agent Spellslinger. MySims. Our Sims. Most people can relate to suddenly gaining consciousness one day and being forced to shit without wiping, which explains the widespread appeal of the life simulation game giant known as The Sims. But hear me out. What if the original Sims series was more focused on creating your own characters and directing their lives, from bed to toilet to death. 2007's MySims, meanwhile, already had its own cast of characters with their own distinct personalities, and you are instead tasked with making the city so good that they'll have no choice but to move in and sit on chairs that look like battle tanks. Despite many similarities in terms of gameplay, both The Sims and MySims still felt different from one another thanks to their presentation, tone, progression, and a whole lot more. However, the two series would soon diverge. The Sims would go down a dark path of DLC and marginally different sequels and a whole lot more dubious EA stuff. MySims, meanwhile, became Mario Party, and Mario Kart, and Little King Story, and War Thunder, and today's topic, MySims Agents. Agents is the 5th game in the series, released in 2009 for Wii and DS. If it's the 5th game, then why am I covering it first? Well, firstly, it's the only game in the series that I have fond memories of and have completed before. On that note, the second reason why is because I've never played Racing, Kingdom, or Sky Heroes before, and although I did play Party during my childhood, I really didn't like it, which says a lot for a game targeted towards kids. As for the original game, I'm working on that. I also picked Agents to cover first because this game used to be my jam. I loved this game as a kid. The Wii version specifically, I never played the DS version, and it's been nearly a decade since I last touched MySims Agents, so I think now's a good time to revisit this cute, quirky little adventure. Thank goodness you missed that shot. Unfortunately, everyone is now on high alert, which means our mission just got a lot harder thanks to you. Where did he go? I'm hacking into a schoolgirl! MySims Agents for the Wii is a lighthearted, secret agent-themed mystery adventure game. For a game obviously tailored towards a younger audience, Agents actually does a lot of stuff really well that makes it endearing in more than just a juvenile way. Critics agreed as well. MySims Agents is the highest rated game in the entire MySims series. The Wii version at least. Obviously though, you can't just base your opinion on a game solely from review scores. Right guys? So let me try and piece together exactly why I liked MySims Agents so much as a kid. Let's start things off with the main character. That's you. You're a small-time detective who runs their business out of a pizzeria. After making your character hot, you are recruited into the Sim Protection Agency by Walker, the most stereotypical secret agent man that ever lived. From then on, you're hunting for clues, interacting with the environment, doing a little parkour, playing some mini games, and working to solve cases ranging from saving a girl's dog to investigating nuclear radiation in the ocean to the game's main objective, discovering the location of the sinister Nightmare Crown before the antagonistic Corp does. There's no combat or high-stakes car chases here, just you, your tools, a mystery, and my gun! I think I can narrow down my love for this game into 3 simple reasons. Let's start with the first one, being that, it really makes you feel like a secret agent. Yo, he said the thing! He said the thing! However, it's less like a James Bond type secret agent with cars, women, and a really apathetic Daniel Craig.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Science rules.
But more like a Sherlock Holmes type agent, where you're deducing mysteries using only a small array of tools and whatever remains of your intellect after the pandemic. It's all thanks to the world of MySims Agents that really helps elevate the secret agent experience. There's just so much to interact with and explore. Searching for clues will naturally lead you to examining objects and speaking with Sims, and that's where the fun comes in. Conversations allow each individual Sim's personality to shine through, and these conversations are usually endearing enough while still being relevant to the case at hand. Interacting with the environment enjoyment using your tools not only brings a lot of silly results, but is integral to gathering clues, so it never feels like a waste of time. Speaking of tools, let's talk about them. You're given a crowbar, a magnifying glass, and a wrench to start off with, allowing you to smash stuff, salvage stuff, identify stuff, and generally be a nuisance in the name of the law. Throughout the game, these tools are also upgraded into high-tech secret agent gear, symbolizing your ascent from a local detective to the head of a worldwide secret agency. And that's symbolic of the whole game. As you take on more missions, the complexity of your cases and their stakes increases, but so does your arsenal of tools, your circle of allies, and your experience, making your rise to secret agent glory all the more engaging. It's brilliant how MySims Agents is able to provide an authentic, fun, well, secret agent experience while still remaining family friendly. Yeah, many of the cases you take on can be fairly obvious, and some of the game's hints aren't that subtle, and all things considered, MySims Agents is not that difficult of a game. However, the game manages to capture the fantasy of being a secret agent very well, doing so in a way that's a blast for kids and still pretty fun even for an older audience. Welcome. Hey, do you have any attire fit for a secret agent? Not that I am one. All we have left are cat ears and this maid outfit. Do you ship in bulk? If you want to catch criminals, you'll have to look the part, and that's the second reason why MySims Agents is an all-time banger. It's thematic and gameplay-driven customization. There's so many outfits you can put on your sim, from cool secret agent gear to street clothes to even the outfits of other sims. There's a lot of great options to choose from, and you can mix and match them to an acceptable degree. I don't like when customization in games gets too granular, like when you can adjust the size of your inverted nipple down to the concave polygon, so I much prefer something like this, where you have predetermined options, but you can combine them in interesting and unique ways. Changing your outfit doesn't affect gameplay, but sometimes you receive new outfits in accordance to the story, and I think that's pretty cool. For example, receiving a parka when you're about to go visit the snowy mountains, or getting some swimsuits when you're about to go visit the beach. In addition to being able to change your clothes like a functioning member of society, you can also customize using furniture and paints, obtainable from missions or hidden crates in the overworld. You can then bring these back to your headquarters and decorate your building to your heart's content. In particular, furniture and paint customization would be nothing without the ability to add sims to your agency. While you're progressing through the story, you're bound to meet many different and charming characters, and most of them can actually work for you. The universal sign of love, slave labor. In your 5-story skyscraper headquarters, you're able to recruit sims into your agency, and they'll live there. I cannot stress this enough. The idea to recruit other sims to become agents is genius from both a gameplay and thematic standpoint. Not only does this give you the chance to have characters from previous story missions join your side, but it opens up the opportunity for non-story relevant sims to join you, as well as allowing you to mend relationships with sims that you confronted in previous missions. Most importantly, it takes the foundational aspect of the MySims series, acquiring characters and furniture, and presents it in a thematic way that positively affects gameplay. The furniture that you place on the floors of your HQ will boost the skill levels of the sims living there, which help greatly with completing dispatch missions, special missions that only the sims that you recruit can do, not you. Completing these dispatch missions will earn you rewards such as more outfits, furniture, and potentially even a new recruitable sim. The more dispatch missions your agents tackle, the more that are unlocked. But here's the best part of all of this. The sims that you recruit in your agency not only live in the headquarters, but can interact with the furniture that you place. Do you want to see your sims have a dance party? Want to work out with your sims? Do you want to watch the goth girl sleep? You creep? Don't worry, you can, and more. It makes every piece of furniture you earn all the more worthwhile when you can see your agents using them to mess around and have fun. It all comes together to create a lively atmosphere that I adored as a kid and still find quite charming today. TLDR, MySims Agents lets you bathe with girls. And finally, the third and true reason why MySims Agents is so great is a simple one: the game's whimsical tone. Previous MySims games played around with its cartoony and absurd universe, but it's in Agents where the world really feels like it's coming alive. One moment you're walking through a quaint city street, next you're investigating the existence of a yeti in the mountains, then you're in a bayou mansion with a zombie butler, and then you're having a tea party with a sea monster. I swear this last one has story significance. The tone helps enhance every aspect of the game and make it feel so much more lively. All of the aforementioned story events never feel too far-fetched, as the game knows exactly how to pace itself. All the plot points, all the conversations, all the neat little interactions, they're all upbeat, comedic, and downright strange at times. Now that is the funniest thing I've ever seen. As for my favorite Sims, I can probably name like 5 of them. Violet's pretty cute and she has a good heart, and also she's a goth girl, so you know that everyone else in the fandom likes her too. Vic is literally a gamer dude who decided to just get a job as a secret agent one day, and I like that. Professor Nova's always talking about aliens and like make-believe tales, and it's pretty entertaining. She also runs the ski chalet and has one of my favorite designs in the whole game. Gonk is a single brain cell given life, and I relate to that. And finally, Makoto is a robot schoolgirl who basically speaks like a floppy disk if it was given sentience. You can also hack into her during the game. Let's go! The dispatch missions are also amusing, even though you're not the one doing them. The client and the team that you send on the dispatch mission will constantly be sending you messages on your phone, updating you on their progress, and sometimes asking you for advice on what to do next. Despite the frequency of these messages, the game's whimsical tone really makes every single one a delight to read. Most of them are pretty silly, and some of them are straight up thought-provoking. Again, this game is aimed towards a younger audience, so many of these messages are usually kind of one note, playing off 1 or 2 of the defining aspects of the character's traits, and that's about it. But I don't mind, they're still pretty funny. It also helps that the dispatch missions themselves play along with the weirdness. One has you sending your agents underground to find a gigantic fire demon, another one has you writing Star Trek fanfiction, another has your agents going to the moon and accidentally discovering an alien monument, and then there's the one where the guy burnt his toast and decided that the best way to solve the problem was to get your agents to go back in time and prevent it. My favorite dispatch mission scenario though has to be the one where you're trying to get back a parade float that was stolen, only to realize that the thieves were a cult looking to use it to summon Satan. And then there's everything else in the game that plays with the tone as elegantly as a pianist performs a symphony. Here's an impromptu dance sequence that has story relevance. Here's a guy named Skullfinder. What do you think he does? Here's a gameplay sequence where you take control of a robot and use him to perform an underwater search for a treasure map. Here's a character literally named Goth Boy who sells turkeys on a stick. Here's a chippy little wolf thing that you can hire as one of your secret agents and send on dispatch missions, and while he's on the missions he sends back photos of himself, and also he had story relevance. What is going on in this game? How the game's main antagonist appears in the very first story mission where he unsuccessfully tries to steal a dog, and then he doesn't appear again until the end of the game. That's like if Thanos showed up at the start of Iron Man 1 and tried to steal the missile Tony Stark was demonstrating, and then he never appeared again until the climax of Infinity War. Everything about Agents radiates this cheerful feeling that makes this world so charming and its characters so likable. And all of this is enhanced by the game's soundtrack, which is surprisingly excellent. I couldn't help but love the game as a kid, and I still really enjoyed it playing it today. With the exception of some Wii-specific woes, the game has aged remarkably well, and even replaying it nearly a decade later, there's still so much that made me smile. That being said, the game isn't perfect and it does have some flaws. Firstly, there's 33 recruitable Sims, but you only have 12 slots in your agency. You can't even look at the list of recruitable Sims if you have a full 12, meaning that you'll have to fire someone, check the list, and then if you don't even like any of the recruits, rehire the guy you just fired, which is kind of weird. There's also a few other things. The beach segment of the game dragged on for way too long. There's the ability to teleport that I don't think is intentional. The outfit customization menu is really dumb and it has too many loading screens and probably could have just been made using a bunch of lists instead of all these icons. There's also the previous issues with the plot and difficulty that I brought up, although they mainly depend on how old you are. But perhaps the game's worst flaw is actually a spoiler, so skip to this timestamp if you don't want to be spoiled. Good? Alrighty then. So remember that nightmare crown you were trying to find before Corp? You know, the whole point of the story? Well, you find it, and then Morcubus immediately shows up and takes it, which is like, okay. Then while trying to use the crown, Evelyn Grey shoves Morcubus into the nightmare realm and they both end up stuck in there. Who's Evelyn Grey, you ask? Well, she's a plot device. No, seriously, she basically only shows up in like a few cutscenes and has like no discernible personality. But anyways, that's where the story ends. Yeah, literally. Evelyn and Morcubus end up in the nightmare realm and then the story just kinda ends. But don't worry, you can get Evelyn back, and there's only one way to do so. With a dispatch mission. Listen, I have almost nothing but praise for how dispatch missions were handled in this game, except for this. Dispatch missions have been presented as like an optional gameplay feature for most of the game, because you only need to complete the first one to continue in the story, but now you tell me that in order to unlock the 51st final dispatch mission to save Evelyn, I have to complete all 50 of them beforehand? It doesn't help that most people at this point won't have completed every single one. I personally had like 20 of them left over, so I had to just sit around for like 2 hours doing nothing because the story was over, just waiting for these dispatch missions to finish. And keep in mind, these are dispatch missions, which means that your character isn't even directly involved in what should have been the game's conclusion, which is pretty stupid. You send 3 agents into the Nightmare Realm while you just sit back at HQ twiddling your thumbs since there's nothing left to do in the game. It feels like the developers either got lazy or ran out of time to create the Nightmare Realm for the climactic conclusion, so they just said, we'll throw it into the final dispatch mission and call it a day. Which sucks, because the Nightmare Realm would have been an amazing setting for a climactic story conclusion, but alas, it wasn't meant to be. Apparently, there was supposed to be a MySims Agents sequel, which would have involved you entering said Nightmare Realm, which would have made all of this make sense, but all I could find to confirm this was some sketches by a former concept artist, so it was probably cancelled pretty early into development. The funniest part of all of this though is that you're actually given the option to not rescue Evelyn because she's linked with Morcubus in the Nightmare Realm, and bringing back one would mean bringing back the other. In other words, you could sit around for 2 hours doing absolutely nothing just to finish all the dispatch missions, only to decide, yeah, Evelyn isn't actually worth saving. If you do decide to save Evelyn, Morcubus ends up getting away, and then Walker comes over and starts scolding you. This guy is a jerk. No wonder he needed my help to retrieve a simple cat from a tree. If he did it, he probably would have just pulled out his gun and emptied the clip on the poor thing. Why are you looking at me? Despite some of its flaws, I'd still recommend MySims Agents to most people. It took me about 10 hours to play through, plus the 2 hours of sitting around, but I still enjoyed most of it. If you want a relaxing, sleuthing adventure with fun characters and a jolly air to it all, then the game will appeal to you. You can get it on eBay for prices ranging from dirt cheap to hell no. I'm really glad that this game, which I loved with all of my heart during my childhood, still gives me almost the same joy and satisfaction today. It's a great feeling. Fine, I'll talk about the fucking DS game. Every entry in the MySims franchise has had a DS game to go with it. In some cases, the DS entry actually reviewed better than the console counterpart, but that is absolutely not the case here. I can confirm this firsthand, MySims Agents for DS sucks. Literally. Instead of traveling the world and tackling a variety of new cases, MySims Agents for DS takes place entirely within a single city with an overarching plot involving a treasure thief that you're trying to capture. Sure, this game does begin with you as an established agent with your own assistant, but it doesn't seem like it. Within the first hour of the game, your character gets their drink spiked and slips over a goddamn banana peel. This isn't a funny joke, it just makes the main character seem incompetent, especially compared to the intuition and wit that the Wii counterpart presented. You're supposed to be an intelligent secret agent, not a slapstick character. Also, the Wii version took existing mechanics in the franchise, such as acquiring characters and furniture, and spun them in a way that fit with the secret agent theme. The DS version, meanwhile, is basically slapping a coat of paint onto the original MySims and calling it a day. The result is a game that feels soulless from the outset and doesn't change much from there. Remember how in the Wii, the mini-games were quick and simple and tied directly into the game's plot? That's not the case here. Instead, we have a bunch of rejected mini-games from MySims Party that have little relevance whatsoever to the game's story. And remember all that silly and endearing writing? Yeah, here's cringe. Remember the plethora of interactions you could have with the environment? That's gone. Yeah, I know it's basically a DS versus Wii kind of technical limitation thing, but just compare Gino's Pizzeria in Wii and DS. Half of the stuff is hidden behind a counter out of reach. I expected technical limitations to hamper the amount of interactivity you could have with the environment, but I didn't expect an almost complete absence of one of the Wii version's defining traits. There's a few other things too. Most of the city is blocked off for no good reason other than story progression, like they couldn't even bother to just put a guy there. Also, every time you learn a new mechanic, the game decides to remind you that you can check on it later. Just one of these messages would have been fine. You don't have to put this for every single time we learn a new mechanic. Worst of all is the synthesizing mechanic. You use some sort of device to suck up essences from objects to use later to craft furniture and houses. In a vacuum, that's comedy! It's fine. It's not a terrible mechanic, but let me ask this. What does this have to do with being a secret agent? And honestly, I could ask that about the whole game. Why am I building stuff for a city I have no connection to? Why don't I have my agent gadgets? What is this music? It's not bad, but it's way too peaceful to be in a secret agent game. Why is the first hour of the game spent checking in on residents and playing terrible minigames and, you know, barely doing any secret agent stuff? MySims Agents for DS has none of the charm that the Wii counterpart does. It's a shambling, soulless husk with no redeemable qualities. Seriously, why does it even have this synthesizing gimmick? If I wanted to suck this badly, I would just play MySims Party instead. The Wii version is a hidden gem on the console. It absolutely deserves to be revisited. The The DS version deserves to be lost to the sands of time. Anyways, play MySims Agents for Wii. It's not the most thought-provoking, intense game, but it has enough charm and simple fun to last a couple of fun hours, which is a win by my standards. Case closed. Holy crap, there you are. Alright, let me give you an update. Luckily, your shot didn't hit our target. However, they're now on high alert, which means our mission just got a lot harder. But I got a new plan. Put this on and approach our target. Oh, I see. Well, I got a plan as well.